की, वृंदावन धाम की, मथुरा धाम की, नवद्वीप धाम की, श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी की, यमुना माई की, श्रीमती तुलसी देवी की, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की, गौर प्रेमानंदी. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text 1. And the title is The Appearance of Sri Narad. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devam saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudire nasta prayashu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavate uttam shloke Bhaktir bhavati naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Vyasa uvacha iti bhruvanam samstuya muninam dirgha shatrinam vriddha kulapati sutam bhavracha saunako bravit Vyasa uvacha iti bhruvanam samshrutaya muninam dirgha shatrinam vriddha kulapati sutam bhavracha shaunako bravit Vyasa uvacha iti bhruvanam samstuya muninam dirgha shatrinam vriddha kulapati sutam bhavracha shaunako bravit. Vyasa uvacha iti bhruvanam samstuya muninam dirgha shatrinam vriddha kulapati sutam bhavracha shaunako bravit. Vyasa uvacha iti bhruvanam samstuya muninam dirgha satrinam vriddha kulapati sutam bhavracha saunako bravit. Okay. Vyasa Vyasadeva uvacha said, iti, thus, bhruvanam, speaking, samshtuya, congratulating, muninam, of the great sages, Dirgha, prolonged, Kshatrinam, of those engaged in the performance of sacrifice, Vriddha, elderly, Kulapati, head of the assembly, Sutam, unto Sutta Goswami, Bahur Chaha, learned, Shaunaka, of the name Shaunaka, Abravit, addressed. So the translation, on hearing Sutta Goswami speak thus, Shaunaka Muni, who was the elderly, learned leader of the rishis engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Sutta Goswami by addressing him as follows. So you can repeat. On hearing Sutta Goswami speak thus, Shaunaka Muni, who was the elderly, learned leader of all the rishis engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Sutta Goswami by addressing him as follows. So the purport, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In a meeting of learned men, when there are congratulations or addresses for the speaker, the qualifications of the congratulator should be as follows. He must be the leader of the house and an elderly man. He must be vastly learned also. Sri Shaunaka Rishi had all these qualifications, and thus he stood up to congratulate Sri Sutta Goswami when he expressed his desire to present Srimad Bhagvatam exactly as he had heard from Sukadev Goswami and also realized it personally. Personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous acharya. He must have full confidence in the previous acharya, and at the same time, he must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstances in a suitable manner. The original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it, yet should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. The leader of the assembly, Shaunaka, could estimate the value of the speaker, Sri Sutta Goswami, simply by his uttering Yatha Ditam and Yatha Mati, and therefore he was very glad to congratulate him in ecstasy. No learned man should be willing to hear a person who does not represent the original acharya. So the speaker and the audience were bona fide in this meeting where Bhagavatam was being recited for the second time. That should be the standard of recitation for Bhagavatam, so that its real purpose can be served and Lord Krishna can be realized without difficulty. Unless this situation is created, Bhagavatam recitation will be for ulterior purposes, and such recitation is useless labor for both the speaker and for the audience. So, Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंच कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु व एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So welcome everybody to the Srimad Bhagvatam class this morning, and welcome to the new devotees who are gracing us with their presence. I seek God protection of Sri Radha Gopinath for this class, and hopefully I can impart some of my realizations to you all. This particular verse actually is a very important one, in the sense that we are all here through the mercy, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And this verse here is quite important in that it is very, it states, it can be a little bit controversial. We've had all these topics of discussion with the outsiders, and even within our ISKCON too, that whoever is imparting knowledge should be representing Srila Prabhupada, and whenever we read the Srimad Bhagvatam, it should our realization should be exactly as it is stated in our Vedic scriptures translated by Srila Prabhupada. With regards to that, it is said in one of the classes, Srila Prabhupada had said that this second time, this recitation of Srimad Bhagvatam was about 2,500 years ago, when the sages, the Rishi Munis, they got together at Naimisharanya and had this discussion about the Srimad Bhagvatam. Now the Rishi Munis, they were quite realized souls. They already knew about this. They already had the realizations of the Srimad Bhagvatam, but they were observing the authority. And not only that, there's a very important reason why the Rishi Munis actually had this conversation, was because they actually realized that the Kali Yuga was approaching, and there will be a lot of devotees who will be living material lives, and they will be suffering the material pangs of nature, and they will be very confused, and they won't know how to get out of this material suffering, because there will be no knowledge. So the sages of Naimisharanya, they were very highly qualified, yet they asked Sutta Goswami to recite this Srimad Bhagvatam again, that was already recited by his spiritual master Shukadev Goswami. And obviously Sukadev Goswami's spiritual master was his father Vyasadeva, and Vyasadev's spiritual master was Narad Muni. And Narad Muni obviously is the son of Lord Brahma. So there is the disciplic succession. So as this chapter, this particular verse is saying that it is very important that whenever we speak, it has to come through the proper authority, the proper acharya, and through disciplic succession. And my own spiritual master in one of his classes had said that whoever is from the disciplic succession and reads the Srimad Bhagavatam or gives its realization is basically representing the spiritual master. So if we are initiated through Srila Prabhupada's disciples, Srila Prabhupada, we are representing him. And that's bona fide. So what is the controversy here? The controversy is through those who don't recognize the disciplic succession. And basically try to impose their own realizations, their own concoctions, and try to preach to the world or to unsuspecting people. There are many of those kind of preachers who try to sway. So it is actually very important that we, whenever we hear from someone, they should be coming from the right source, the right disciplic succession, as ours goes through all the way to Brahma. Now, the Rishi Munis in Naimisharanya could have actually given a commentary themselves. So why did they go through Sutta Goswami? It is because his spiritual master was Sukadev Goswami. And before that was Vyasadeva, and before that was Narad Muni. So they wanted to actually go through somebody who was the authority. And why they did it was, of course, for souls, fallen conditioned souls like us. They actually wanted to have it broadcasted. They knew that this Srimad Bhagvatam will be broadcasted out in the future. Somewhere, somehow. And how was this actually broadcasted? They had not really actually mentioned that there would be Prabhupada there who would be doing this for us thousands of years later. But Bhakti Vinod Thakur had actually mentioned that there will be an Acharya who will come and who will spread this knowledge, this Srimad Bhagvatam, to the West, and he will translate it, and he'll be like a what's the word for, like a warrior, like a lion for Lord Krishna. So if you really look at it, in this verse, the Shaunaka Rishi, he's the elderly, and he's very highly realized, and despite that he is praising Sutta Goswami, despite his elderliness and his high status, he is praising. And why he's praising is because this particular Srimad Bhagavatam is going to deliver so many of us through many thousands of years later. And it's actually been done by someone who's very special, and that special person, well, I'll ask you, who is that special person who delivers us thousands of years later? Srila Prabhupada. So you can just imagine how great, for a moment, think about it, how great Srila Prabhupada is, because this stage was set up thousands of years ago. It was set up thousands of years ago, and it was expected to be broadcasted in the future, thousands of years later, by one single warrior of Lord Krishna. So you can just imagine the greatness of Srila Prabhupada. This stage was set up for him. And so that he could come and deliver us. Because the reason for that is thousands of years later, we wouldn't know how to deliver ourselves, and we wouldn't know how to get out of this material life. And there has to be someone there to actually show us the way in the proper disciplic succession, the proper word. In the proper disciplic succession, there has to be someone there. Because there's so many people who will mislead you. So Prabhupada was actually, in one of his classes, he was saying that in the age of Kali, there will be fewer, the temples would become actually not much use. As you can see, that in this class today, there's a handful of devotees. This temple is being built for, preaching and spreading the word of Srimad Bhagavatam to deliver so many souls. Comparatively, there's so many souls out there. And the temple becomes not much use. So, Srila Prabhupada, what did he say? What was his commentary? What was the solution for that? The solution is something that our boys, our brahmacharis, our devotees are actually doing. They're spreading the word of God, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, by book distribution. And that's how the message is going out. It is not really, it is through the temple, but a small fraction of it. A larger proportion of this spreading of Srimad Bhagavatam, the word of Srila Prabhupada, through the disciplic succession is actually through the book distribution. So those people who are doing the book distribution, they are doing an immense service for Srila Prabhupada all the way up to Vyasadeva, all the way to Narad Muni actually. Because that is this proper way of delivering the souls to get the right message across. And Prabhupada also appreciated the book distributions, and he always said that's the prime service. And we always bow down in Danvat Pranams to those who have worked for Srila Prabhupada in the book distribution. Why? Because they're doing it selflessly. There is not really much gain that they make out of it. And I was listening to one of the classes in Satsarupa Das, and he was saying that with the Prabhupada's books, we don't really put it in a bookshop and sell it there. Why? Because there's no salesman out there who will actually sell our books for money, because the profit in terms of material is not there. That's one reason. And another reason is that those who distribute our books, they are actually preachers. They are realized, and they actually know what's in those books. They know. And he preferred, Prabhupada actually said in these books, in his lectures, that he wants his boys and girls to be knowledgeable about what they're distributing. And really, that's the way to spread the word of Srila Vyasadeva that we are listening to today. Thousands of years ago, the stage was set up so that Prabhupada could come and translate it for us, turn it into books, and then give it to the rest of his soldiers, send it out there. So, Danvat Pranams to all those book distributors, because that is the way. And obviously, those book distributors will spread the holy name too, which is the prescribed medicine for this Kali Yuga. We will not be, in Kali Yuga, we will not, the fallen souls will not be doing deity worship, yagnas. There's no Brahmin who's actually qualified to do those yagnas. That was done in Treta. No, is there anyone who can invoke the Lord just through meditation? That was done in the Satyug. They meditated in Satyug, and then they were able to realize Krishna. And for thousands, 10,000 years ago, they were meditating. There's no way we can do that kind of thing in Kali Yuga. So the only way is the holy name. So praising Sutta Goswami is the way to go. Praising Srila Prabhupada also. Because for a second there, you'll think how great Srila Prabhupada is. So this Srimad Bhagavatam was written by Vyasadeva after the direction of Narad Muni. What had happened is Vyasadeva had written all the Puranas, and he had written. Let's have a look to see what the. I have got a list of. See, first he wrote the Vedas, right? The Sam, Yajur, Rig, Atva, and it was explained in the 18 Puranas, and then the Upanishads. And then after the Upanishads, there were 108 Upanishads. After that, there was Vedanta Sutra, Brahma Sutra. And again, the Brahma Sutra was explained by Vyasadeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam. But before the Srimad Bhagavatam had come, Vyasadeva had thought that he'd completed his work. He had not written the Srimad Bhagavatam yet. But even after that, he was unhappy. He was feeling like he hadn't done what he was supposed to do. He was very depressed, actually. He was not happy. And he meditated. He was trying to think what to do. And that's when Narad Muni appeared. Narad Muni came and told Vyasadeva, you are slightly off track. In other words, you've done the sutras, the Vedana sutras, but there is something that's missing there. So Narad Muni came and pointed him in the right direction. He said, you're not focusing or concentrating on Lord Krishna and his pastimes. So Narad Muni came and gave him a pointer. Not only that, Narad Muni gave him a basic, what's the word, a sketch of what the Srimad Bhagavatam should be. In other words, it was actually set for Vyasadeva to do that through Narad Muni. And after the Narad Muni's eyes opened, and I thought, yes, the main focus, the main Supreme Personality of Godhead, I have not focused on that, the main deliverance of the people from Kali Yuga. So he sat down and he meditated. He meditated. And after meditation, Vyasadeva saw Krishna and realized. And that's when he started writing the Srimad Bhagvatam. Because the important thing is not just to deliver the souls, but to actually get us all to love Krishna. Without loving Krishna, we cannot perform devotional service properly. So we've got to be able to know his Leela. We have to have love for Sri Krishna, just like we've done a Snan Yatra for Jagannath right now. And Jagannath is feeling a little bit sick. He's got a little bit of a cold. And what are devotees doing? They're making medicine for him. They're giving him hot tea. They're giving him nice khichdi. And they're very concerned about him. Why? Because we love Jagannath. And whenever Jagannath goes out on the road, we dance in ecstasy. We sweep the roads to clear the way. We pull him with all our might. We're pulling him towards us. Why do we do that? There's no material gain out of it. Nobody's giving us money for it. Yet we are in ecstasy. It's because of the love. We love him. And that love has actually been given to us by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So this, without actually loving Krishna, we cannot really perform devotional service properly. It will be just like a robot or something that just you do. And love is not something that you do. Love is something that you actually develop in your heart. So that was what Srila Vyasadeva did for us. He wrote the pastime so that, but once he got started, once he got started writing the Srimad Bhagvatam, he needed a secretary, somebody to actually write it down, because there were volumes, huge volumes. So at that time, Lord Ganesha, who is Lord Shiva's son, is Parvati Devi's cute little elephant-headed, chubby little baby boy, Ganesh, he volunteered to write the Srimad Bhagvatam. But he had one condition. He said to Srila Vyasadeva that once he gets writing, it should not be interrupted. In other words, dictate non-stop. That was one of the conditions that Lord Ganesh put for Vyasadeva, which Vyasadeva met. In other words, Vyasadeva kept that condition. So he dictated the Srimad Bhagvatam non-stop. And Lord Ganesh wrote it down. And that is what we are reading here today. So that's just a history of the Srimad Bhagvatam in a nutshell. And Srimad Bhagvatam actually represents Srila Vyasadeva. It represents, and whoever sits on the Vyasa Asana, that's why it's called the Vyasa Asana, is actually representing. And Prabhupada had preferred that whoever did this preaching should be from the disciplic succession. In other words, representing Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas before that. Why? Because then the message is not changed. Then the message is as it is supposed to be. As it is. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Srimad Bhagavatam as it's supposed to be related, as it is. And that is why that was Prabhupada's wish and preference. And he said we can employ managers and we can pay them. But preachers we need to have through the disciplic succession. What does that mean? That means that we accept a spiritual master, guidance, who's from Prabhupada, the line of Prabhupada. That's why it's really important to accept a spiritual master that comes from Srila Prabhupada. So let me see what else I have got here that I might have missed, that I can give a little bit Yes. So that actually means not only actually praising Srila Prabhupada, but praising our own spiritual master. In actual fact, when I tell, I've got lots of families in Fiji and they're not really Hare Krishna devotees yet. They do love Krishna and go to the temples. I say, so you've become a Hare Krishna devotee? And I say, yes. And actually, they say Hare Rama. They say, you've joined Hare Rama. So, yeah, I've joined Hare Krishna. And then they say, how? And I said, do you remember Prabhupada? And they say, yes, we remember Guruji. Actually, Prabhupada came to Fiji. I was just 4 years old at that time. So you can have an idea what my age would be, because Prabhupada came in 1975. So I was 4 years old, and I was very, very fortunate that he came at the same location where our shop was. Our shop was diagonally across from Punja's shop. So we were basically on the same street, but just diagonally at crossroads. There's crossroads, and our shop is in one corner, and their shop is diagonally on the other corner. Prabhupada was there. And he did his morning walks, and I think some of the boys, brahmacharis, came with him. I believe it was Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, although I'm not certain of that. But my uncles tell me that they had seen even Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So Prabhupada came to Fiji, and to my uncles, he was Guruji. You know how when we read the books, they say Swamiji. In Fiji, he was Guruji. And I remember attending one of his classes he was sitting in an armchair, and he gave a class. He gave many classes. For however long he was there, he gave class every day. And he gave it at this high school, Natambua High School in Lotoka, Fiji. And I was later a student in that same high school. And then I became a high school teacher in that same high school. And I grew up with all these Prabhupads. They're Gujaratis, where he initially came from, Gujarat, the Punjas. And I grew up with them because they were my neighbors. And so it was just being fortunate. And so when my relatives say, well, you joined Hare Rama. I say, well, you remember Guruji? I took an initiation from his direct disciple. And then they were like, wow, amazing. You mean you were like the third generation from Guruji, our Srila Prabhupada? And they just get so overwhelmed because they look up to him so much. And then they say, well, your spiritual master knows him? Your spiritual master is his disciple? And I say, yeah. So there is this high standing, with Prabhupada's name is there. Automatically, people know that you are coming from the right direction. And if you impart knowledge, they're ready to listen, actually. They're ready to listen because it comes from Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada actually says that when we are listening to a Srimad Bhagvatam, we have to listen with rapt attention. What does it mean to listen with rapt attention? Rapt attention, it actually means with a pure heart and pure mind. If you, for some reason, we are not of pure heart and pure mind, what does pure heart and pure mind mean? It actually means those 4 elements, what we do is sleeping, eating, defending, mating, all those things we are doing. We do it in a proper way, like following regulative principles, not contaminated. And if we are in an impure state, then listening to the Srimad Bhagvatam will not have a full effect. In other words, you will not be able to turn to Krishna because there will be controversies, you will have doubts, the perception won't get there, the message won't get there. And if you have some problem with the person, the speaker, I don't like this Mataji. So the message will not get across. There will be some anarthas, or there'd be some negative, and you won't get the ras. So that's what it means by having rapt attention. We've got to get the message. Whenever we listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, the best way, my personal opinion, it's the word of Srila Prabhupada. It's Srila Prabhupada, it's Srila Vyasadeva, and take it from there. So purity and rapt attention. And with this praise thing, Shaunaka Rishi was quite elderly, and he praised Sutta Goswami. Gurudev, actually, my spiritual master says, when do we actually praise someone? We praise someone in order to remove, it is an antidote for envy. Like, for example, if someone has more qualities or qualification or something that is more attractive, and you have a look at that, and you feel some negative emotion within you, you feel anger or you feel envy. The way to cut that out from the root is go to that person and praise them for their fantastic qualities, that whatever qualities it might be, or whatever possessions they may have. That is the antidote for envy, is you praise that person with your heart. And that is actually dealing with envy. But there are many more anarthas, as you know. There's the lust, there's anger, there's greed, there's illusion, there's fear. Have I missed out any? Which one? Madness. Oh yes, that one, the illusion. So these anarthas, you know what they are? They are these compulsory things that each and every devotee has to come to terms with. There are these qualifications. When we become this devotee of Lord Krishna, you know how when you do a degree, we've got 12 units here, 6 compulsory courses there. Well, these anarthas are compulsory. You won't get your degree, spiritual degree, if you don't come to terms with it. And I was thinking, there's lust, there's anger, there's greed, there's madness, illusion, there's fear, all these things, there's envy. Do I have to, I actually asked my spiritual master, will I have to go through every single one of them, or can I, when can Krishna give me, like, for example, he can give me the challenge of anger, and I deal with it, and that's it, I'm qualified. And Gurudev said, no, you've got to go through every single one of them. So all of those devotees who are on the spiritual path will actually have to deal with envy. The challenge will be thrown at you. And anyway, I dealt with the anger bit too, and the worst one is actually fear. That's hard to deal with, because fear is difficult to control if you are afraid. But we've got to come to terms with every single one of them. And envy, the way to come to terms with that is you go and praise that person. You admire that person, and you don't have any negative feelings for that. With the anger, when my personal realization, I was in a country far, far away from here, so not Australia, in a galaxy far, far away, in a time period far, far away. The devotees were deliberately, there were some devotees, devotees, and we've got to go and offer danvat to those devotees for making you feel, or come to terms with that anarthas. They were trying to make me angry. That's what I'm saying, in a galaxy far, far away. Deliberately making me angry. I would just have to grit my teeth and say a prayer and write an email to Gurudev, complain about these devotees who are doing these things. And I have not even provoked them. But then the message comes across, that should be a challenge. You should see that as a challenge. Why didn't you, Shamapriya, why didn't you see that as a challenge? That's Krishna throwing it your way. You have to come to terms with anger or envy or whatever it is. And then, you kind of, the best way to deal with anger, actually Gurudev has this whole anger workshop. But just to give you the bottom line of how to come to terms with anger, you have to understand everything belongs to Krishna, nothing belongs to you at the end of the day. You can fight over this, you can fight over that, you can fight over your opinions, but at the end of the day, it's the will of Krishna, it's the property of Krishna, nothing belongs to you, you are insignificant anyway. And once you come to terms with that, you're just not going to even bother if somebody's angering you or not. So there's this other stuff, and there's all these other techniques. But here, in this particular verse, Shaunaka Rishi is praising. There's no envy there at all. actually, none whatsoever. There's high praise. So I will stop here. Is there any question or any? Yes, Prabhu.
The whole third chapter
Yes.
is by Sutta Goswami.
Yes.
And this particular verse, all of a sudden it says Vyasadeva is actually saying this. And again, if you go to the next shloka onwards, to the 13th shloka,
Yes.
it is by Shaunaka Rishi and then by Sutta Goswami. So I didn't actually understand.
You didn't understand.
This particular verse, all of a sudden it says Vyasadeva.
Yes, so, yeah.
And actually, the interesting thing is,
Yes.
Vyasadeva seems to speak about Naimisharya, but I don't think he was present in Naimisharya.
No, he wasn't.
So, I mean, any reason why all of a sudden it says Vyasadeva?
Vyasadeva actually wrote the Srimad Bhagvatam. He was not present. And in this particular verse, it says Vyasa Uvacha, and then it says Sutta Goswami and Sonaka Muni. So my particular understanding, from my insignificant realization, it would be that the Srimad Bhagavatam is represented, the entire Srimad Bhagavatam is represented by Srila Vyasadeva. So he would be saying, or he would be, Uvacha means to speak. He would be speaking every single shlok, even though it has been recited in Naimisharanya by Sutta Goswami and later on by Maitreya as well, and Sukadev Goswami as well. But the entire Vani, entire shloks, it represents Vyasadeva. So my understanding is that it is just saying that it is representing Vyasadeva. That is my conclusion for that, personal conclusion. Any other questions? Yes, Prabhu. No worries.
My question, you were saying about the pause of Bhagavad Gita. Can you hear me? Come up and speak.
Yeah, I can give you, yes.
Like, you're talking about Bhagavad Gita as it is, being important. And I'm saying, like, now we have almost like Bhagavad Gita as it was in 1977. It's very controversial. But now there's like 3,000 or 4,000 changes of the books, and like people are saying, "Oh, this is justified, it's not." This, it's back and forth, back and forth. It's just what your opinion on that?
So my comment on that. So just to clear this one up, Prabhu here is saying that there was an original Bhagavad Gita that Srila Prabhupada wrote in 1977, and after that. There's about 3,000 or 4,000 changes, and so the Bhagavad Gita which we have now is Bhagavad Gita as it is, but it's basically Bhagavad Gita as it, and the one in 1977 was Bhagavad Gita as it was. So my comment on that, someone asked my spiritual master this exact question, and his comment was, no comment. And the reason was that there's a controversy, and a lot of people are saying that our books are being changed and all that. But what happened with my understanding is that the Bhagavad Gita that was written in 1977 has just been explained a little bit more clear because there were technical challenges. Now we have got like better technical equipment to do these things, and there were some of Srila Prabhupada's disciples there when this was being dictated, so they figured out some parts of it that wasn't included. As far as the controversies, I'm going to go with what my spiritual master said, and no comment, because the reason for that is we could fall into a debate that will actually take us nowhere. But the Bhagavad Gita that we are reading, it still represents Srila Prabhupada's original Bhagavad Gita. I have a copy of that, the one that was written in 1977, and I've compared the two. So basically it is from my personal reading that when I compared, I didn't find much difference. It was just a clarification that was, a word here, a word there. That is the best way I can answer this particular question. Sorry if it doesn't fully explain, but it's better not to fall in that particular controversy because it still represents Srila Prabhupada and his disciples are still his disciples. It is not someone who has changed this Bhagavad Gita from outside. Like they're still our own ISKCON devotees. Any other questions? No other questions? Okay, the Srimad Bhagavad Puran ki jai.
Yeah.